Hello there, I'm Hayley. You may have seen me obviously presenting here at Hochanda and also doing some of my Handmade by Hayley shows. And I thought I'd just grab 5 minutes to give you the perhaps the opportunity to make a little 5-minute make, and that's exactly what we've got here. It shouldn't take very long at all, and it's a fabulous little kind of holder, a little pouch, maybe for your lip salve. It could be emergency lipstick that you can't be without, and you basically got this little pocket that attaches with a key ring that can then go onto a set of keys, or on my situation it actually goes onto my lanyard for work, so I've always got my lip salve there for when I'm in the studio. So yeah, so this is how we get started. It couldn't be simpler. You only need a small piece of fabric, which I've already got cut here, and it's measuring probably about 3 inches by 9 inches on this particular occasion, but of course you can size it to whatever you want to put in here. You might want to make it slightly longer if you want to put a pen in there, and yeah, just resize it. Nice little fundraiser, this one as well, because as you can see it doesn't take an awful lot of fabric out of your stash, and then you just need a little key ring as well, just obviously to feed through, so you've got something to attach it with. So set that aside for a moment. We're going to start off with our piece of fabric. All we're going to do is fold it in half, like so, right sides together. Just finger press it. I don't usually bother with things like pins or clips for a small project like this. And then all I'm going to do is take that to the sewing machine and stitch along the long side. So I'll bring the sewing machine in. Doesn't have to be a particular kind of stitch width. We're not looking at 1/4 of an inch or anything like that. I'm probably looking around probably, I don't know, about 1/2 centimetre or so with this. And all you do is you literally stitch with a straight stitch down the side. Couldn't be simpler. You could be hand stitching this if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be done on a machine. Just try and keep those stitches parallel to the edge of your fabric, because when you actually start putting your little pouch or your little pocket in place, that is something that's quite important. Just run those stitches over the end like so, and then my machine cuts the threads for me nice and easily. Just move that out to the side, and then all we need to do, you can see that stitch down the side there, is turn it inside out. Now because you've got quite a short length and a reasonable amount of gap there, it should be relatively easy for you to turn inside out. So just literally start with your fingers. Some people will use things like a chopstick. It might be that you've got something like a pencil, and you're literally just turning that fabric inside out, pushing it through and teasing it through as you go through. This is probably the longest process, to be honest, when you're turning it through, but there's loads of different ways you can do this. Push it through, as you can see there. Just make sure you don't use anything sharp, because the last thing that you want to do is actually pierce your fabric, so don't be tempted to use something like a seam ripper. You could use a knitting needle. Just be careful that you don't actually pierce your fabric as you go, because you don't want to create a hole. A hole does not look good on any project, does it? So turn that through like so, and then all I'm going to do is, where you've got that seam, we're going to press and put that seam just at the side like so. You could, if you want to, press it open and then actually roll it round, which I'll do just to make sure that it's nice and flat. So just a little iron like so, and then all I'm going to do is roll it round so as that side seam is actually sitting on the side. Just gives a nice little neat finish like so. Press it down in place, and we're pretty much ready for the next stage. Now the next stage involves just turning the ends over. So this is where at some point your little ring is going to sit in place. So just make sure that when you turn it over, you're turning over probably about 1 centimetre and then 1 centimetre again. If you want to, you could press that. You could pin it if you wanted to as well, but because we're doing this for speed, I'm not going to bother with that. Just a little bit of a press, and we'll take it to the machine again in a few moments. But before we do that, we need to do the other end as well. What you need to do is make sure that one is facing towards you, then you turn it over and do exactly the same on the opposite side. And what this means is when you actually stitch those pieces in place, you'll see one is kind of turning to the one side and one is turning to the other, as you can see there. So again, just give that a little bit of a press just to make it easier as it's going through the machine. Slide that out of the way, bring my machine back in again. And again, similar sort of stitch, just from the edge of the foot across, and again just making sure that you've got a reasonable amount of a gap there, so as when it does come to actually putting the little ring in place, then you've got plenty of room there. Just going to do a little fixed stitch there so as it doesn't come undone. And then off we go again to the far side. And then of course you can kind of tuck those little pieces in if you've got a little seam ripper or something like that, just to make sure that those pieces don't come out. And the little fixed stitch there, just to make sure that those stitches are secure. And then cut your threads, and then just do exactly the same on the opposite side. Now I'm using a white thread, which doesn't look out of place with my polka dots. And all I just do is trim off those little threads as you go. So that side and that side there. And then the opposite side, do that little seam. It doesn't really matter which of the ends you're going to use for the ring to go through. But they're both going to be very, very similar, so you don't have to worry. And again, just do a little fixed stitch there so it doesn't come undone. Off we go again. You could even do this with one of your fabric strips, really. I know they're only 2.5 inches wide, but if you've got something that's slightly narrower than your lip salve, maybe like a pen, they'd be perfect to making with things like your strips. Maybe as a fundraiser. And then again, just trimming that off. And just make sure it looks nice and neat at that point. So you can see one's going one way, one's going the other. Then all I'm going to do is get my lip salve. In fact, I'll get the one that I've got in my little pouch here. And all we need to do is literally take that and wrap it round to make your little pouch. And then at this point, you're just kind of going to decide how far up you want it to come, because obviously these will vary in size, but you're just making sure that it wraps around like so. Hold it in place. Again, press it if you're wanting to, but I'm just going to go straight in. I'm going to neaten up those threads there as well. My bobbin thread's caught a little bit there, so it's a little bit of a mess. So because I want it to be as neat as I possibly can make it, I'm just going to trim those little bits away, because they'll irritate me otherwise, as they may well you. And then all we're going to do is take it to the machine again and stitch down the edge. Now this time you need to go as close as you possibly can. Oh, now careful, don't stitch through that loop part that you've got there, because obviously you need to have that free when it comes to putting your ring through. So you're just going to go from the stitch line like so, and then again stitch down the side as close as you can to the edge of the top stitch. You could use decorative stitch if you wanted to. Again, if you need to raise your foot up, then you can do, just to get over that higher thickness that you've got there. Run down the edge of one side. Make sure you're going through all those fabrics. Okay, cut those threads. And then come up the other side. Again, I'll just trim off those threads when we come to the end of it. And again, just on the edge there, just a little tiny top stitch. Now just be careful. In fact, I'm going to pull that out because I've gone over the edge there, so you can see that it's drawn the fabric into the machine, which is where it catches those threads. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come down this side. You've got some machines like to have a bit more fabric to grab hold on as you're working along. So there you go. Started on that side, it'll be easier to go down the edge there. Again, right the way down to the bottom. And off the end there, cut those threads. Just trim it, make it look a little bit neater as you go. And again, you could be using a decorative thread as a contrast. It's entirely up to you. You could do all sorts, embroider little initials on there if you're making them, perhaps as gifts. Nice little gift to be making, perhaps if you bought somebody a lipstick. Or, as I say, fundraisers. Quite easily you could be fundraising with these. And all you need to do, get those threads out of the way. A lot of threads all over the place here. We'll just scoot those out the way. Don't tell anybody. And then I'm just going to come in with my keyring. Just obviously be careful as you go. Open it up, she says. Ooh, jumpy one. Is it going to open up for me? Behave. Frightened of damaging my nails. Oops. Ooh, got it. Got it. And all you do is literally just feed it on. You just need to get it on that initial part and then just feed it through and kind of scooch it up as you go through. Keep rotating it until you've gone all the way through. And there you go. You've got your little pouch there ready for you to put your little lip salve in. And then you can take it anywhere with you, whether you need it to go with your car keys, whether you need it to go on the inside zip of a bag or anything like that. Or literally, as I do, with my lanyard, so I'm never far away from my lip balm there, as you can see. So there you go. Nice little 5-minute project that you can quite easily do with just a scrap of fabric, maybe as a fundraiser. And yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy yours just as much as I have.